where we embark on a journey of self-discovery and transformation. My name is Christy, and today I'm joined by my co-host Jen, and together we'll be exploring various modalities and learn from experts in their field.
That's right, Christy. And today we have a remarkable guest joining us, Stacey Walker. Stacey is an intuitive sales coach for soul-led entrepreneurs, guiding them to create a lasting impact in the online space while staying aligned with their true selves.
Stacey's journey is inspiring. Having broken free from the confines of corporate sales and marketing, she now empowers impact-driven businesses to build soulful brands.
Absolutely. With her expertise in digital marketing for soul-led businesses and her all-in-one platform, My Ducks, Stacey is making waves in the entrepreneurial world.
Today, our conversation with Stacey will be a free-flowing exchange touching upon some key talking points, including her amplified and aligned podcast with her sister, Michelina Knight, who was here with us just last week, and her spellbinding free masterclass. Now, we hope that through this interview, our audience experiencing a spiritual awakening will gain valuable insights into finding their purpose and authentic selves. Hey, how are you, Stacey?
Hello, I'm good. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm really excited to talk about a little bit of spiritual and strategy, and that's my jam. So I'm keen to get into it.
I love this. I love this. And, you know, Stacey, I mean, we're just so stoked and excited to have you here. My first question is like this, the journey from corporate sales and marketing to becoming an intuitive sales coach for soul-led entrepreneurs. That feels like a really masculine to feminine switch, and somehow finding balance and all the in between, right? So what ignited that transformation for you?
I will preface this by saying I am such a talker. So when you want me to wind up, like you can put the Oscars sound or something. Moving on. So I guess my first sort of introduction into sales, I did a sales program, which I invested a good $10,000 on back when I was just a wee little lass. And that was over about 12 weeks we did that. And it was in-person training, and it was a sales athletes program. And, you know, isn't that just so bro marketing, just straight up? And a lot of what I learned, I use a lot in my corporate career. And I always look back to that as something that was so, so valuable to me. And it did shape the way that I did excel in sales. And I've done lots of different positions in sales across where I live in Tasmania and beyond, online. I guess I grew up with a psychic parent. My mother, she runs her own psychic medium and paranormal investigation business. So I was kind of like always rejecting that because I thought it was so uncool, like ridiculously uncool. And so, you know, mum being, it's like, oh, you've got these gifts and you've got this. I'm like, oh yeah, shh, mum, I don't want to hear about it. So I shut off that channel for a long, long, long time. And I started sort of wavering in my commitment to the manipulative tactics and the sales psychology that I was so strong and I was training other people in. And something just kind of hit me that it wasn't right. And I didn't like to be sold to that way. So why was I teaching others to do that? And so I tested a few methods and had fantastic results from that and with sales teams. And it made me start opening up to the possibility that I could create a new wave of salespeople. And it all just really started from there. And I started embracing my natural intuitive gift and bringing that as a part into my graphic design and my branding business. And I guess, the rest is it's just been a huge flow-on effect from that moment. And now, though I don't scream feminine business in any way, I do have a really good balance between the two. And now I teach these techniques. And one of the things that really pushed me into the intuitive sales coach position was the fact that I had met so many amazing spiritual business women in particular who told me they hated sales, that they didn't want to show up and sell their amazing gifts. They didn't want to promote themselves. And so that's when I went, right, well, we need to find a way that aligns your personal values to the way that you sell. So you can show up and it doesn't feel sleazy and it doesn't feel like it's this yucky thing that you've got to do. You're more inspired and lit up by sharing your gifts with the world.
I love that. I love that.
That's awesome, because it's kind of yucky when you're even having it done to you, when, you know, that push. I totally agree with that.
I mean, I, even now, you know, I go into stores and they try it. I'm just like, hold up, like, I'm actually a sales coach. Don't even bother. Like, and if people slide into my DMs with like really bad sales pictures and cold messages, I'm just like, okay, I'm a sales coach, so here's some advice about cold DMing and where you went wrong. I can't help it. I just need to educate everyone.
Yeah, so definitely. I hadn't. Sorry, Jen. I just wanted to share something with like about that whole experience last week. I had someone call me, and I was like, okay, because you know, at times I actually like being sold to. Like if I'm being sold to well, it actually because I actually have a sales and I have a sales and marketing background, and I love good sales. But there's so much not good sales here now, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'll entertain this. So it was the worst experience of sales I've ever had in my life. Like there was no listening, like no active listening. I was telling, you know, this person what I wanted, what I needed. If you want to jump on my call, like on a call with me, which is what he was trying to achieve, right? Was a booking, like a call booking. And there was just like, I'll call you back on Monday. Like, no, if you want to call, I need to book now in 2 weeks' time. Like there was this complete resistance around me actually saying, I'm willing to book a call with you at this date and this time. And he was anyway, it was just really yuck. So I got off and I was like, I think I actually really like the way that I show up in that sales thing. And so many of us don't know how to do that. And because we have all these bad experiences, we start to feel like we don't want to be that person. But actually, if we learn a better way, right, we can be that. We can be like the good way, the good feeling sales.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I just think and I love selling. Like I love it, and I love inspiring other people to get to that point where you are, where it's just like, I actually feel good selling myself, setting those appointments, getting those clients.
Yeah.
And the way that I teach for spiritual entrepreneurs is very different than any other sales training. We don't use a lot of the same language. If I ever hear someone in my realm say close a sale, I'm just like, like I nearly pull a muscle in my eyeball from rolling them so hard. And so, there are so many shifts that we can make to start feeling good about actually, like claiming our space as this authority and this expert and actually having people pay us for that, which is another huge fear for spiritual entrepreneurs, is actually asking for money. It's not necessarily just the sale. It's actually, I can do this and get paid for it. So
and it's remembering that these people aren't just paying you for something, they're actually investing in themselves, right? And I think when we start to see that this is an investment for people, it becomes a little bit easier.
Yeah, absolutely. Any of the things that even I do with digital marketing, it's such an investment in the growth of what they're doing. But when you're working with clients in the healing space or in the work that you guys do, it's just so deeply connected to this invisible return on investment that a lot of people, they're not actually, I mean, I help people make money, but for those that are healers or leaders or, those mystic people, they're not actually selling a way to make money. So they fear that because there's no monetary return on the investment that people are spending. And they don't see it as this, this soul investment on this spiritual level that gives them a bigger return on investment than money can.
Absolutely. And there's this theme that I see in the spiritual realm that you shouldn't be charging for what you're doing, which I think is absolute bullshit. Like, you've invested time and money into yourself to gain these skills. You absolutely have a right to be like, at the end of the day, like we are human beings, and for us to show up in our magic, we need to sustain ourselves, and we need a roof over our head. We need to be able to feed ourselves. We need to be able to have that abundant flow so that we can show up in our magic in the most optimal way, right?
Yes.
And that happens from financial exchange.
Absolutely.
It's energy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anyone in business is doing it for money. Because we need to be able to take care of, there's the hierarchy of needs and all of that sort of stuff that we talk about, but we need to take care of ourselves. And then that next level is, taking care of our tribe and so much more beyond that. And so when we're in rejection of accepting that financial abundance, from the universe, wherever you're calling it from, we're actually not allowing our gifts to get out into the world further and further. And we can do a lot of magic with the more that we have. And I do a lot of free education and free training. And I get told all the time from coaches and mentors, stop giving away so much for free. And I see it as more of, that giving it out to the universe, and it gets returned.
Dude, seed. What you seed, you reap. What you sow, you reap. I think that's the saying,
absolutely.
isn't it?
Exactly. And so for me, I have the time and the freedom to give that to my community because I get paid really well because of my businesses that support me to be able to follow that mission and help other women in the beginning stages of their business where they can't invest in the things that they need to grow.
I totally agree with you there, because someone, I can't remember who it was, so I would like to speak their name, and it's like I can't even think of who it was, but it's like insert caption here. That's right. But someone wise once said to me, Christy, anyone can go to the internet and find information. Don't be a gatekeeper to information. Don't think that you are so fucking special that you are the only person that can give them this information. They will go and find it on Google anywhere,
Absolutely.
right? So give that to them. And like I too, I give so much away free. But what people pay you for is mastery and accountability. That's what they pay you for, right?
Yeah.
The rest of the information they can literally freely get wherever they choose to. So when we understand the difference of that, like when we do show up and, we give away, really, we're giving away or helping people, like you said, new on their journey, especially people that are new on their journey. In that way, when it comes time to actually doing business with you, they're like, oh my God, this person's helped me already for free, like so much information for free. Imagine what I would get from them if I'm like to have that financial exchange.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like I don't know how much you went into it with my sister, but we grew up in a not so financially supported situation. And so as soon as I got to a point where I could make my own money and make my own career, I just knew from the get-go that there was so much that I could do. And so I invested in myself. But I had a privilege in some way of the way that my brain works and my ability to absorb information and how it's a bit cliche, neurodivergence and all that sort of stuff that's all trending right now. But I felt like my ability to kickstart into my personal growth and my training to get to where I was, a lot of people don't have that available to them. And so the more that I can provide is this conduit of information that can help them get to a point. And there are so many coaches out in the world that will tell you, oh, you have to invest in yourself if you want other people to pay you. And it's it's just so manipulative and gross. And I actually don't work with people until they have foundational recurring income, because I do not want people to go into debt to work with me. And I don't want them to feel ever stressed about paying me at any point. So my goal is to, as a mass thing, is to get these spiritual entrepreneurs to a point where they do have recurring foundational income so that they continue to grow their message and get that out into the world. And I love that I get to do that. Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
Amazing. So being an expert in the digital marketing and area for soul-led businesses, how do you actually help these businesses build their brand online while maintaining that alignment with their core values?
Yeah. So I have a personal branding process that is the signature process that I take people through. And a lot of it is values based, and that those values then we stretch into how we deliver our content, and then how we connect our products and our offers to our audience through those values. And there are many layers to the personal branding process. And so I take my clients through a branding process, because I think the brand is one of the most important aspects of growing a business and getting recognized, especially in social media world. A lot of people have this misconception that a brand is your colors and your logos and all of those sorts of things. And those you don't need to worry about really until later. That all comes. But we need to establish the core of what we're actually here to do and align that to a mission and a movement. And so that's like the core of the branding process for me, is like, I have the soul of your brand, the mind of your brand, and the face of your brand. And the face is like the logos and the typography and all your brand elements, and that comes last. All of the other parts come first.
Yeah.
And so, we need to, I don't talk about niching down. I talk about niching offers, because there's too much talk of niching down, and for multidimensional women, that can actually be really disempowering to try and like really nut down into this one type of person that we're here to serve and all of that. So I don't talk about that. I talk about it in a different way. And this movement that I want everyone to create is much like mine, of creating this movement where women feel empowered by sales. They do it in an intuitive way and they align them to their values. I want everyone in their own business to have that movement, so that they have a reason for people to follow. They're inspiring people to join this change of something in the world and be connected to something. And I'm not the biggest fan of organized religion. That's not, my jam, but I talk about it as building your own religion in a way, and how you actually get that out into the world is that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah.
I mean, I could talk about that for an hour. So I'm like,
totally
cut that short.
Totally. Now, I want to sort of maybe this isn't switching channels, but I want to talk about your all-in-one platform, MyDucks.
Yeah.
That sounds like a really powerful tool. Could you tell us more about its features and how it caters to the needs of soul-led entrepreneurs?
Yeah, absolutely. I have been working with a lot of different online platforms over the last 13 plus years. And so I could see there were different holes in platforms and different needs. And a lot of the people I was working with had to have 3 different, subscriptions to be able to pull together a calendar and invoicing and social media planning and funnels and all of that sort of stuff. So when I was approached with this idea to create I branded it MyDucks. So it's not overly it's a spiritual branding. Our mascot is called Morris the Duck, and he's a very sarcastic little duck.
I was going to say, what comes to mind when you say MyDucks is I've got all my ducks in a row.
That's exactly what it is. So our tagline is the all-in-one platform to get your ducks in a row.
Oh my God.
So that's
awesome.
where MyDucks came from. And obviously ducks is, the word for being the best of something. So,
yes.
It's a play on words, and I always have fun with my branding and
love it.
So
I love your branding.
Process. Yeah, thank you. And so it gives this, that masculine structure that spiritual business need to get their stuff together.
Shit together.
Okay, good. I can swear.
You're allowed to swear.
I am a bit of a swear like a pirate human. And so what I could see and identify in the women that were coming towards me to work with me was that they were sending PayPal links. They were putting their courses on YouTube. They were trying to manage everything with Google spreadsheets, and there was just mess everywhere. And so, one of my highest values is freedom. And whether that's financial freedom, time freedom, whatever that is, for me, freedom is this massive calling. And the way that I automate and get everything in flow in my business creates so much freedom. And people always ask me, how can you have time to do all the things you do and have a family, renovating the house, running these businesses? How does this all fit? And, for me, it's this automation and a way to harness these tools so that all of that magic is in one place, and it's so easy to get out in the world and manage. You just send a link to your accountant and they, do all of the boring stuff that I can't stand. And the rest of it is just, it's so powerful because it does give you this amazing way to get everything together and organized.
Yeah. I think, you sort of hit on something there that I want to just come back to, was about this masculine and feminine part of our business and the way we show up in our business. And I think I've spoken to you about this before, right? So many of us, I'm not going to say us and this was me, but I see people completely reject the masculine, right? And it's like, actually, we need to have both. We need to find a balance. The masculine is the one that is the driver, the taker. That's the structure, right? And it's within that structure. I know people feel suffocated by structure, but actually, if we create structure, we actually are creating freedom.
That's exactly the way I would say it too, is those structures and the systems are the thing that allow us to have so much more freedom. And
Absolutely.
I see these feminine business leaders out in the world and saying that they have rejected the masculine and their full embodiment of their feminine, but they're using complete masculine processes and systems, and it's like, it's so misleading for an audience. So for people coming into this realm where they fear that masculine, and they're seeing people talking about their in full feminine leadership when it's all a crock of shit, basically. It's like the people that say, oh, I only work 5 hours a week and I build this massive business, and it's like, yeah, but you have got a team, you've got systems, and it's like, there's all this stuff, and you're in feminine flow and you're on a beach with your bikini, great, but there's a lot of deception in my industry, and I'm here to shake the crap out of it.
Bypassing and we're just gaslighting ourselves, right?
There is so much gaslighting in the coaching industry, and it's just really gross. There's so much yuckiness. And so I try to bring awareness to it for my community, more so that they can identify these ways that they're being manipulated, or just opening that awareness to the energy that's coming through on some content, and the way that people are, telling porkies. There's a lot of lies and stuff out there, and it's just being really attuned to, having your bullshit meter turned all the way up, pretty much.
Totally. Totally.
So we've heard about your spellbinding free masterclasses. Can you give us a glimpse of what people would expect to learn in those?
I have spellbinding. I have a few different masterclasses that are recorded that anyone can jump on and watch. I am a talker, so be prepared to sit there for 2 hours, because most of my classes are a good 2 hours. I try and do short ones, but it just doesn't work. I need to really give you as much as I can. And so I know that you're investing your time and energy to be in my energy. So I like to give back as much as I can. The reason why spellbinding came to fruition was because I saw so many amazing, magical unicorn of humans trying to sell their healing or their gifts. I've got a lot of astrologers and human design experts that I work with, and when they come to me, they are using a language that doesn't resonate with their audience. They are trying to fit their business into a very traditional sales method. I am the anti-pain point marketer. I will never allow any of my clients to use pain point marketing. Instead, we flip that into empowerment points rather than pain points. And the way that you actually attract people that are willing to pay you for what you do. And it is all about the language and how we create this spell-binding way of getting our message out into the world. So I wanted to make it really simple and easy for people to have a step-by-step that they could follow and change. And actually, in one of my masterclasses, one of the ladies on the class was actually changing one of her posts as we were in the live. And when we got to the Q&A section, she was like, hang on, Stacey. She said, I changed one of my posts and I reshared it, and I've just had someone message me to book with me for 12 weeks. And the other post I had nothing from at all, and I haven't for a while. And so when we flip it to be more empowering and talking to an audience who aren't sitting in their crap, they're not attached to, pain and suffering, and they're really just ready to make that shift in language can attract so much more into your realm. And so that's why that masterclass to me is a baby. It's special.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So it attracts it's really designed to attract a more higher vibrating client that is more ready to easily transact with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only that, it gives you the tools so that you can start bringing that magic down to earth level as well. Because I know that the terms like stepping into your power or out of the shadows and, all of those things are very cliche and we hear a lot of people say them. But to the everyday human who doesn't feel empowered, who feels so useless and downtrodden, and they don't realize that there is any power in them. So using that language really doesn't talk to them at all. And sometimes they're a little bit further in our spiritual journey, and so we try and fluff things up to make us sound more like we're an expert, and it actually disconnects our magic from our audience when we're talking a lot of basically gibberish. And so we just need to bring that into a place where it makes sense to our audience. It puts a mirror in front of them so that they can see, if they make some changes, what things would look like. But it also just brings it down to human level. Like, if you work with me, this is what your life is going to change in really practical, tangible ways, which is hard for people in spiritual business to do. So, yeah.
I love that. Now, there's something else that you have created with your co-host and sister, Michelina Knight, the Amplified and Aligned podcast. I want to talk about that for a while. I want to say it sounds intriguing, but I know it is because I was a guest on it just recently. I was on there. Absolutely. Could you share with us, because I loved hearing about the essence of what the podcast was all about. Can you share with us what that is and the inspiring discussions that you have with your guests?
Yeah. So my sister and I, we tend to be on the phone a lot. I would say, there's never a call other than last week, which was hilarious. We had 2 calls that were 45 minutes and not over an hour, which is unheard of. Usually we could be on the phone from anywhere from an hour to 2 hours. And so we just talk a lot of, what we're seeing in the industry. We call out a lot of bullshit that is happening. We're very honest. Transparency is another huge value of mine. So I show that in my content, the way I communicate with my audience. And so for me, it was important for us to do something that was a good combination of the spiritual and the strategy without all of the spiritual muss and fuss, craziness, to really make it easy for people to connect their business in the spiritual realm, but also just have the truth. And we share a lot of silly things. This week that we recorded, we had this huge flashback and we're talking about our childhood and all of this stuff. So there's a bit of silliness. I tend to sing every now and then as a musical theatre kid, and so it's just like being on a phone call with us. We just invite you into the conversation rather than have a clear structure and stuff that we plan to talk about. Sometimes we do, but sometimes it's just an episode where we're like, these are the things that are annoying me about our industry this week. Let's just talk about it. Yeah.
I love that. And what I love about you guys is it's just there's no BS. It's just straight to the point. This is my opinion. This is what I'm seeing. And I got to we recorded. I think we talked for a long time after the recording stopped. And I just love the openness and the transparency around. There's no fluff. It's just straight talk.
Yeah. Absolutely. We need more of that in spiritual business, because there is just so many, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors, and I just want to debunk a lot of the stuff so that people do realize it's achievable and it's simple. They just need to put the work in and not just sit back and try and manifest and hope that the universe sends them all the magic.
I see something we touched on off air was I mentioned kind of what we're talking about here, what we're seeing in the coaching industry, and something I've always done is looked outside of my circle to get education. What I see actually in the coaching industry is this incestuous pool where it is like I've got nothing against MLM, but it's kind of like we just all sell to each other. So we're all
yeah.
regurgitating all the same stuff, just with a different spin on it, right?
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
what I see happen is not much evolution. But when we can actually reach outside what we already know, because we, like, when you think of energy, this is like the energy body of that coaching pool. There's no newness in there, right? We need to create newness and growth. We need to go out and reach further than our comfort zone, because that to me is staying in our comfort zone. And really there's like all this hierarchy of approval, and look at me, and you know, I went with here and I went with this person, and it's like, just get out there and find other people to like learn from and get fresh ideas from, and grow as a person, right?
Yeah. There is so much same. And I try and flip things and change things. And even with my coaching, it's a hybrid approach. So, you know, we get very hands-on and landing pages and workbooks and all of that sort of stuff, because I just know that is needed. And there's not a lot of options for people to work with a hybrid coach that has the ability to do that stuff. And so, yeah, I totally resonate with that. And, you know, in one of the circles that we're in, it's like this massive gold star when you can finally afford to work with this particular coach, and they all just like, it's just a circle that goes around and around. But like,
and that's like the pedestaling thing too, right? I'm like, I pedestal no one, like not one single person.
No, that's part of my confidence training as well. It's like the anti-pedestal, you know, everyone's on the same level. And that's how we, you know, have confidence issues, is when we're looking up to people. And I see everyone on an equal plane. Even when I've met like my favorite bands, like the members in person, everyone's always like, you were so cool and calm and you didn't ask for an autograph. And I was like, they're no different to me. I just love their music. Like,
I'm here for the jam, right?
Like I'm like excited. So I totally get that. And we also need to make those decisions from that soul calling. And I talk about that a lot, because a lot of wanting to invest in ourselves and our business or our gifts is driven by ego. And that's not a good place to be investing from.
No.
And, you know, when we're investing from just this pure place of integrity with ourselves, it's a really, really good investment. And I see a lot of coaches who sell from ego, and that therefore they're attracting people who are investing from ego as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think... Sorry, Jen. I know Jen's got another question. Do you want to ask a question? I've got a question that is like kind of still on this path here, and it's you know, one, that place of ego and making choices and investments for your growth. If it's because you're wanting to be seen a certain way, there's like, obviously there's some disconnect inside, right? That transpires into your business and probably shows up in the way you sell.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
Right?
There are a few different clues, like the questions you can ask yourself when you're going to invest in something. And one of those big things is the return on investment, as we were talking about. And if it is like, I'm investing in myself to see a return on investment, that's not a good place to be even coming from. And I know that sounds silly, because we all want to get something out of what we're investing in. But at the end of the day, we need to be investing in ourselves for the right reasons. And looking at, does this give me status? You know, especially the coaching industry, the thing I mentioned about, you know, if you want people to pay you a certain amount, you have to be willing to invest that amount in yourself, which is a load of crud. It's not about the money. It's like the levels of investment and your own growth. It doesn't, who gives a crap how much you're spending on that, as long as you're doing it in a way that it's giving you the tools and resources you need to keep growing and getting out there. And so, there's all these different layers of like the wrong reason and the wrong timing to investing in yourself.
Yeah, I think that's key too, because another thing that comes up around the pricing of your own programs, not yours, like just in our own programs in general, is this: you have money blocks, because mine are priced really quite low. But for people investing in themselves, they've never invested in themselves before, so to them it's a lot of money. But when I compare what other people are charging, it's like 2-3 times, even 4 times the amount that I charge for the same type of container. And I've had friends and coaches say to me, oh, well, if that's all they're willing to pay, maybe you need to take the next step and be like talking to the next level of who that person is. And actually, for a little while, I thought, oh, maybe I'll sort of question. And I sat with it, and I was like, no, that's not who I'm here for. Like, that's not who I'm here to serve. Like,
Yeah.
that question put me in. I caught myself going into ego in an unconscious way.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that I have the sense to sit with these questions and these changes now, rather than to be reactive and responsive, and to play to that story. Because to me, that's actually not me with the money block. That, when I've sort of explained it from that space, that's the story in those circles. That's not. It's probably the person asking me the question that has more of that.
Absolutely.
Just get what you can, attitude. I'm like,
it's this stupid saying that all of these coaches use is charge what you're worth. And for a lot of people who are investing, they don't feel worthy of that level a lot of the time in themselves to invest that. So therefore you create a disconnect between you and your audience. And the way that I coach pricing and that side of the business structure is that we need to have a customer journey. So I create customer journeys with my clients, and we have an entry level point. Usually before there is even an exchange, we have some sort of offer or some sort of entry level thing. It's to basically overcome the objections of why they should invest in themselves and in you to learn this thing or do this thing. And so you have this entry level point. And as someone in business, we need to have a customer journey where once they've done with that program at that entry level pricing, where are they going next? What else can you give them? Where's the next step? So for you, it might be that you do this entry-level program, but then the second tier of that is when they've gone through that process. You then have another more intimate container where you take people through a different level where it just stretches them a little bit further and it is more intimate. And then beyond that, there is working with someone, for 12, there's a whole process of pricing. And I get called out the same by mentors, especially with my free stuff. But it's my audience are the women for those offers are the women who haven't been in business a long time, or they've been in business for a long time but it's been more of a hobby, so they haven't got the financial means to invest just yet. And then as they work with me, they're earning more money so they can invest in other growth aspects of their business. So it makes sense.
Totally. I hear that.
That's awesome. So we've sorry, I've missed my question there. So as someone who guides others through spiritual awakenings, what advice would you give those? Would you give those to our audience? Sorry, especially those seeking their true selves and purpose.
Yeah. So, I mean, as someone who rejected my own gifts for so long, it wasn't until I really accepted those and opened the door for those to come in that I allowed really myself to feel fulfilled and to have this magic pumping through my veins and be inspired every single day. I wish that everyone had the ability to learn that aspect of themselves so they could see where this is coming through. And I'm sure you guys have talked about it a million times, but my gifts showed up in a way that were completely confusing and completely random. And I remember the day I remember the air, I remember the feeling, I remember what I was wearing when I first had that shock of oh, there's a gift here. And I was sitting at a friend's house and I'd never been there before. It was the first time we worked together. So I just was around for coffee, and I just had to say to her, I'm really sorry, but there is just so much crazy angry color energy in your front door where we were sitting while she was having the smoke, and I'm just I just see this really masculine outline of this angry person, and I'm I feel like I'm going crazy. What are you smoking? Am I inhaling something? and she opened up and said she actually just the night before had kicked out her partner, and that's exactly where their fight happened, and the pushing and shoving, and that's where I went, oh, okay, this is different. And so for me, it's never been about like, at that point, it wasn't like seeing, ghosts or, hearing voices or anything. It was colors around people and energy. And so I never talked to my mum for years about it because I didn't want her to make a big deal. So I just went on my own little journey with it. And then opening that up and practicing and allowing my guides to give me very, very visual messages now. Like I can physically see stuff in front of me and hear some stuff sometimes, but it just had to be that process of not being scared by it because it was terrifying. And so if at any point, like I would say this to anyone, to embrace the natural gifts that you have, however they're showing up. It doesn't have to look the same way that it does for everyone.
No.
It can be however the spiritual energy comes through for you is the way you should embrace it. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. In we are all unique beings. We're all different frequencies and densities and like all the things we're all going to receive and experience differently to each other. I have a question about like your process to transformation. So in your experience, which modalities and practices have you found particularly transformative for personal growth and spiritual exploration?
Yeah, I have tried so many times to meditate. I don't like usually say it very publicly, but I do have ADHD, and it's such a freaking powerful gift.
Yeah.
And it was actually a business coach who I heard speaking many, many years ago about ADHD and the gift and how you can utilize it. Was when I went, oh, I can self-manage this, and didn't medicate. And then I stopped the medication, and oh my gosh, the way that my connection with spirit just completely opened up. And then having medication since, and like I can just feel this massive block from it. So I'm not advocating everyone to just get off their meds.
No.
But for me it was
not
a massive
advocating
block.
that. Go speak to your doctor.
Not at all. But yeah, it was just sorry, what was the question again? So I went off on a tangent.
Yeah, so it's just about like my question was like, in your experience, which modalities and practices have you found with your helped you with your transformation and personal growth?
Yeah, so really like meditation, quiet time is not my thing at all. And I know a lot of people try and push through that process, and
It's not mine.
it's totally not. I was in a punk band for many years, and as a bass player and singer, and so I just went back to that. And the rhythm and the movement, the sound, the vibration, it really connected me with my creativity and those messages. I also always have my iPad and Apple Pencil with me. And so when I'm talking with people, I'm drawing, and I'm just not even looking at what I'm drawing, but I'm just like making notes and drawing pictures as things come through. And it's just, with my branding, I had a coach tell me the other day that I should be able to teach this. And it's because I'm ego driven that I can't teach it. I'm just like, I can't figure out how to teach this gift because I use my guides for all of my branding. So, I ask for the visual clues that my clients are sort of connecting the energy with for their branding. But then I totally let it be an experience of tapping into my guides and I still don't see a pathway of actually teaching that process to someone, but it is very much I will play bass guitar. I will put on some really heavy metal music. I'll put on some incense and some oils. I do a lot of my own card readings. I don't do them for others, occasionally, but like I've got my tarot there and my other oracle cards, my witchy ones, like I'll use those as well. But I do a lot of different spells and things as well. I've got, a million herbs. And so, there's just a whole bunch of fun stuff that I play with. And I get my kids involved in it as well. And they love it.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that. And so we had another woman on earlier today. Her name is Stacey McGee. She's Spirit Fluent over on TikTok. And she spoke to something similar to this. And she spoke about like a synesthesia, which I understand it, but for me to actually explain it in proper words is probably not going to do it any justice. But she spoke about like our like psychic abilities and how like we have this spectrum, like ADHD, or like all of the things on there. And it's like there's something inside of us when we're on the spectrum that is more heightened than others. And there's something here. So musically, you tap into a form of creativity, and potentially you might not be able to technically teach that because it's something else that's flowing through you, like to the extent that you can do it. That's that is your gift, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think like I can take someone through Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop or InDesign and teach them the actual structures and the processes, but the actual creation side of things and how images and messages drop in, I honestly, I don't see how
it's different for you.
It might come through one day as like, oh, this is how you should teach it. But I mean, I'm not called to teach that in like particular anyway. But yeah, everyone needs to find their channel to really like creativity. And no matter what you're doing in business, even in the corporate world, you know, you need creativity and fun in everything. And we tend to shut that side of ourselves off. And even last week I did a pottery workshop, and so many women were like, oh, we haven't done arts and crafts since high school, and they were all so lit up by this creative process, getting our hands dirty, and like we ate a lot of good food and had a good laughs. But I think it's something that a lot of women lose as they have kids, and you know, they lose a little bit of themselves. And so I'm very strong in teaching that. If I have clients who aren't tapped into their creativity, I'm like, well, what are you doing outside of work, kids? Like, what do you do with your time? Until recently, for me, it was like roller derby was a massive part of my outside life. And, you know, obviously music.
I can see you on a pair of skates.
Oh, I loved it. Yeah, my roller derby name is Stalker, Stacey Walker Stalker. And I had so much fun. Unfortunately, I've been diagnosed with a nerve disease, and my neurologist won't let me skate and bump into people and throw people on the ground. So having a break.
Take all the fun out of it.
But I always have my music and my digital art that I do. So
yeah.
So with balancing personal growth and business growth, that can be very challenging. How do you find harmony between nurturing the soul and developing success in business?
Yeah, so we can't have success in business and true growth without actually working on ourselves. And you know, that's one thing I'm very, very strong on, even with my kids, and they're only almost 9 and 10. And I want them to keep reading and keep learning and tapping into growth. You ask any billionaire, their one piece of advice is always read books. Read as much as you can. Keep reading. I listen to audiobooks more because I'm always, you know, on the go and doing things. So, or I have my books on my iPad if I do want to sit and read. But one of the things that is the key to success in business is the fact that you do not know everything. Ever. There is always more that you can learn and more to absorb. And the people that are really stubborn and think that they know everything about their particular subject are the ones that are going to be left behind. And so we need to be consciously working on just our personal side of our belief systems, our mindset, our growth. And that allows us to fill more into the strategies and the systems. We can't really have one without the other. And I think that's really important. So if, you know, you ask someone, what was the last book that you read? And they can't say, usually mine's like, oh, Harry Potter. But before that, like I've been reading this and that. And I love Harlan Coben. He's a crime fiction thriller writer. Love anything he does. And so, you know, I do balance even what I'm reading or what I'm listening to with other things that will allow me for, you know, to learn other ways. And you know, as a coach, I don't know everything. I have my vision and my methods, but I'm always open to learning and how I can support growth in other people as well, because we're all different. No one is going to learn like I do. And so we need to be open to that.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that. And, you know, it's in the learning, the reading, the investing in ourselves where it's aligned with our growth, not that coming out of that place of ego, that we get to actually draw upon the little goal. You only just, like I say, if I go away for a weekend to like a seminar, my goal is to take literally one, like not the whole weekend away. I just want to go away from that space with one gold nugget. And I know that if I can find one gold nugget, I know that is going to alchemize into something that I teach you know, my transmission of whatever, at some point that's going to come through. You just want one thing to land, whether it's out of a book, whether it's out of an ebook, whether it's out of watching us over on TikTok or on Instagram, you know, in our masterclasses, in our courses, or programs. One gold nugget. That's it. That's all we need to create alchemy.
That's absolutely right. And if anyone is listening or watching this and they're, you know, wondering where do they even begin with personal development or looking at their own journey, the one thing that I can say without a doubt that will transform your life and your business is your ability to be confident. I did a workshop just on the energetic layers of confidence, and that's available in my links and things. And that has actually, even though it was a free class, you know, it still went for 2 hours. The impact that has had on people actually seeing how they can use the very little confidence they have to start working on those layers has changed things. I've had one woman who she's a tea leaf reader, and she was, you know, terrified of getting out there, really, like trying but not really, and so working on these things, then all of a sudden it was like, oh, like I can, and all of these opportunities are now falling into her lap because she has the confidence to stand up and say, you know, who she is, what she's about. And the conviction that you have in your magic is the only thing holding you back from really having success in what you do. Yeah. So confidence is one of the most important things.
Yeah, beautiful. So, like, on that note, I want to ask you this. You've interacted with many soul-led entrepreneurs during your course in your business.
Yeah.
What are some of the common challenges, other than the confidence piece, do they face, and how do you assist them in overcoming these hurdles?
Yeah, I won't sugarcoat it. One of the biggest challenges that they refuse to see is that they are playing small, they're playing hobby, and they feel like they've invested the last 5 years in growing their business, which is a load of crap, because they haven't adopted any systems, any structures. They're running at a loss in most cases because they aren't really in the mindset of being a spiritual business person. And so I can see the cogs, like when I start explaining to them what that actually looks like how you actually create a work day for yourself and give yourself some, you know, goals to work towards within your business, and how you can manipulate time, and there's quantum leaping and all of that sort of stuff that plays into that. But it's like, you could have spent the last 5 years doing the same things over and over in such a small capacity that as soon as you turn that up and start showing up in the right way, it's like 5 years goes by in 5 minutes, and all of a sudden things are clicking into place. Clients are messaging you, people want to work with you. There's follow-ups that you didn't do, you don't even need to follow them up because they're just chasing you down. And so that's like my biggest pet peeve with people in spiritual business is thinking that they're doing it as a business when they're really not doing all the things they need to. And yeah, I guess the language thing of like not talking to their audience in a way that will inspire them to take action. That's a huge part of the spellbinding masterclass. And not really creating a personal brand. That is another huge one. And again, that comes into working a lot like a hobby. They might have had a logo made in Canva and some colors, which nothing wrong with that. But the branding, the foundational side of it, like what their mission is, their movement, how they actually want to reach their audience, their values for their brand, their tone, like all of that sort of stuff, and how they show up, they're just kind of vanilla, and they're kind of blending in a bit too much, and they're not really standing out. A lot of them are afraid of sharing their opinion or the way that they do their work because they don't want to, you know, stir things up, and that's actually holding them back as well. I could talk about this for ages.
So it sounds like the biggest piece I'm taking out of this is like, who do you want to be in 10, 20 years time? Who does that woman then, or man, who does that person show up as in their business then? What does that look like? And start showing up in your business as that now.
Yeah, that's it. And the question that unravels a lot of clients is, well, what do you want to be known for? And some of the answers I get from that, I sit there and I blink and I'm just like, okay, that's just crap. Like, let's work on that, because you know, a lot of women will say, oh, I want to be known for being a dark feminine empoweress, and I'm like, what does that mean? if you were being interviewed by Oprah, like what the hell? If you were standing in front of 1 million people on YouTube on a TED Talk, like what do you actually want to be known for is a massive component of that. And living that now is the thing. And so actually claiming it and just saying, I am known for blah, blah, blah.
This is who I am.
Yeah.
Put that sword in the ground and claim it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Beautiful. Before we wrap up, is there anything that you want to touch on or speak to? Is there anything coming up that you want to share with us? I know that Jen's put all your links over in the chat. It'll be below in the podcast.
Oh, thanks, Jen. Yeah, I do have an experience coming up next month in September, and it's a 5-day, it's not a challenge, but it is going to challenge you. I'm not sugarcoating that process either. It is 5 hard days of you stretching beyond comfort, working on your business, taking things to the next level. And that is the Service with Soul blueprint. So I'm working with the women who come forward for that to create their blueprint to really create and set those foundations into their business so that they have that financial freedom to then invest in themselves and keep moving forward. There's so much of the business and strategy side that spiritual women miss. And so I'm just cutting the crap out of it. I'm giving 5 days of reporting, accountability, systems, structures. Like there are so many things that are going to be happening. It is free, which my mentor has also growled at me for, that I should be charging for that. Yes. But the reason why we need that foundational blueprint is so that we have something to work with, so that we can be hyper focused and hyper fixated on getting our message out into the world. And so anyone can join, but if you aren't actually participating at full capacity over those 5 days, I don't want you there. Like it's harsh, but I'm just like, I'm not here to muck around. Like I want people there that are really invested in their own growth and their business. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So you can check those out on my socials. Yeah.
Beautiful. So it's on your socials. I'm assuming you've got a link in bio there and they can find that. Yeah. What was it called again?
It's the Service with Soul blueprint.
Service with Soul blueprint. I might even sign up to that myself.
You should have some fun. Yes. Yeah, come and have a play. I'm going live every day to go through the process of the different stages of each day, giving you jobs where, all the reporting tools that you need to see constant growth and putting 100% in, not only for those 5 days, but for the month following, so that you can really see when you take your business from hobby to wanting to take it to the next level, how that really looks.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us, Stacey. Thank you for joining us today. And just remember, you're so very welcome, my love. I just want everyone to remember that your journey is your own, and having you here has been completely enlightening. We're grateful for your wisdom that you've shared with our audience today.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
And to all of our listeners, we hope you found inspiration and valuable insight from today's episode. Stacey's free masterclass and the Amplify and Align podcast are excellent resources, so make sure you're exploring them.
Yeah, and remember, our spiritual awakening is a transformative path filled with self-discovery and purpose. So embrace the journey and don't forget to stay connected with us for more empowering conversations.
And if you've enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review and share the podcast with others who might benefit from this enlightening conversation.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep evolving, and elevate your spiritual awakening. This is Christy and Jen signing off. Big love.
Stay curious.